Hey my friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another What's for Dinner. I have for you a week's worth of meal ideas that are going to be perfect for your meal planning. So you want to make sure to stay tuned so that you don't miss any of it. But let's go ahead and get into my kitchen and see what's for dinner. Tonight for dinner is going to be an easy dinner night. We're just having salad. I'm going to cook up some of this seasoned rotisserie chicken, and I'll probably season it with some probably Cavenders and I don't know what else. I have some diced ham that I got from Walmart. I'm going to cook up a little bit of bacon to crumble, and then I'm just having, I like 2 different kinds of lettuce. So I got this romaine and I got some shredded iceberg. And I got some cheese and, pepper jack cheese and Colby Jack cheese. And then I saw this video of this guy named Matt. And if you've ever seen the channel, it's a Southern thing. He used to be on that channel, but now he's got his own channel. I'll link this video below. But he tested out different ranch dressings. And this one was his favorite, so I figured I would give it a try. So anyway, so it's going to be a quick and easy dinner night tonight. And then I forgot to mention the cucumber, and I'm also boiling a couple of eggs to add to it. Once I cooked up the chicken and the bacon, and the eggs, I just put it all together and put the ranch on top, and this was so good. I ended up having even more for lunch a couple more days this week. For dinner tonight, we are having basically Mexican chicken and pasta. I haven't been to the store yet, so I'm trying to get something in the crock pot from stuff I have here at home. I have some chicken breasts, I have some rotel, so I'm going to add the rotel over the chicken. I have taco seasoning, so I'm going to sprinkle some taco seasoning on top of that. I also have a little bit of cream cheese left from a recipe that I did last week, so I'm going to go ahead and add that in there, and just a little bit of salt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on low and let it cook. I'm going to let it cook on low for about 5 to 6 hours, and once it's cooked for probably about 3 hours, I'm going to add some pasta to it and let it finish cooking. I also forgot that I have some bell pepper from the freezer that I wanted to add, so I'm going to go ahead and add that and let it cook. Alright, it's been cooking for about 3.5 to 4 hours at this point, so I just take the lid off and I'm going to chop the chicken up just a little bit. I don't want it too finely chopped, so I'm just going to kind of break it apart. Then I'm going to add the pasta with a little extra water, cover it up, let it finish cooking. After it's cooked for about another 30 minutes or so, I just add some milk to it for just a little extra creaminess, stir that up real good, and then top it with some cheese. I have some Colby Jack cheese, and once I put the cheese on top, I just cover it back up, let it finish cooking just really until the cheese melts. And once the cheese is melted on top, then it'll be ready for dinner. And I did serve this with some cornbread that I had made a few days before, and that was what was for dinner. For dinner, I'm making homemade jambalaya, and I need to get it going because it has been storming like crazy for the past, 10 or 15 minutes. So I need to make sure I got this going in case we lose electricity, because it is bad. You may be able to hear it, I don't know, but lightning is terrible right now. But anyway, I will actually put a clip of it right here just so you can see. Anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead, get this started. First thing I'm gonna do is saute my sausage, some bell pepper that I had in the freezer, and some onion. All right. I'm gonna get this stirred up and get it cooking and sauteing, and I'll be right back. I decided to cook green beans this way tonight, so I just cut them up, cut up some onion in there. I don't have any bacon grease or anything, so I just put oil and some salt and pepper, Cavender's Greek seasoning, some garlic, and I'm just gonna cook this on low until the jambalaya is done. I'm gonna go ahead and add about that much garlic, which is probably about a tablespoon, maybe a little over. Let that cook for about 30 seconds, and then I will add the rice and the other seasoning. All right, as for seasoning, I am going to add some pepper, and I actually am almost out, so that'll have to be enough. I'm going to add a little bit of salt because I am going to be adding beef bouillon. I'm going to add some Cavender's, which you know I love, and you want to make sure it's seasoned a lot. So I'm also adding garlic. All right, so to this, I'm making 2 cups of jasmine rice, so I need 3 cups of water. And then, since I'm not using, y'all hear that thunder? Since I'm not using beef broth, I'm gonna add the beef base. I'm gonna let that cook for just a few minutes till that beef base is dissolved. While that's dissolving, I also need to add a little bit of Tony's or whatever Cajun seasoning you have. And this is my favorite. I gotta add a little bit of Tabasco, a little splash. All right. So, waiting for that beef base to dissolve, which, has it already dissolved? I think so. That was fast. Okay, so now I'm just gonna add my jasmine rice. I'm gonna bring it up to a boil. Get that mixed in real good. Once it comes up to a boil, oh wait, before I do anything else, I like to add this flavoring and browning sauce. This is Savoy's. I usually use Kitchen Bouquet, but last time I went to the store they didn't have any, so this just kind of gives it that brownish look, plus it seasons it a little bit. See how that turned brown? I like my jambalaya to be brownish looking. So anyway, I am gonna let this come up to a boil. Once it comes up to a boil, I will cover it, turn it down on low, and let it cook until the rice is done, which should be about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Now you can use whatever meat you want. Usually I make chicken and sausage jambalaya, but I did not feel like eating chicken tonight, so I eliminated that. But a lot of people like shrimp or seafood jambalaya. which I'm not a fan of seafood, so usually ours is chicken and sausage, but tonight it's just sausage. All right, you can see it's starting to come to a boil, so I am going to put the lid on it, and I actually was using this lid to cover my green beans. So I'm gonna put that on it. I'm gonna turn it down to about 2, which is right above my low setting. So you just want it to cook low and slow till the rice gets done. I usually leave mine alone. I don't open it to stir it or anything. Just let it cook. Here are the green beans for my husband. I just made enough for him because I don't feel like eating them, and my son's not going to eat them. So those are his green beans. All right, it is just about time for the rice to be done. Yep. Oh yeah, that looks good. But anyway, this is the jambalaya, and it smells really good. Hopefully it tastes just as good. So anyway, let me get it plated up. Jambalaya is always an easy go-to in our house, and it is so good. For dinner tonight, I took this roast out of the freezer and let it thaw, put it in the crock pot along with some carrots that I needed to use up. I also had a couple of potatoes that I needed to use up, so I cut those into, I guess, kind of large cubes, put that in there, and to season it, I basically just use a packet of Lipton onion soup mix and also some garlic powder, as well as some salt and what very little pepper that I had left. I just tried to get as much of the pepper out as I could. And even though this is not going to be a beef stew, I did have a packet of beef stew seasoning that I mixed with some water, and that is going to be my liquid to cook the roast in. And then I do add, you can see there's a little bit left in there, so I do add a little extra water, but I cover this and I let it cook all day. I think I let it cook for about 7 or 8 hours. But after it had been cooking for most of the day, I went ahead, I like to break my roast apart before we eat it rather than taking it out and slicing it. So right here, I start the breaking apart process. And I also took some of the, and I don't know why I didn't show this, but I took some of the juice out and added a little bit of flour to it, mix it up to make the gravy a little bit thicker. But I made some jasmine rice with it, and this was just a yummy, comforting meal. Tonight for dinner, we're having low carb enchilada casserole. And for this, I'm using ground beef, cheese. I'm using the low carb tortillas. And then I have 2 cans of red enchilada sauce. They didn't have any of the large cans in the medium, so I just got 2 cans. A small can of green chilies, a can of refried beans, and then on the side, we're gonna have this Mexican corn. Now that I have it chopped up, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add a little bit of minced onion and a little bit of taco seasoning, and then I'm just gonna get that stirred up. Then you add the green chilies. What I normally do now is add a little bit of the enchilada sauce. And what I normally do is I heat the refried beans in a separate bowl, like in the microwave, just to make it creamier so that it spreads easier. But I think tonight I am going to just add it to the meat and see how that goes. See if that makes it any easier to, get it a little more pliable. And I'll add a little bit of the enchilada sauce to it as well. So now I'm going to get this stirred up. I'm hoping that by adding the refried beans to the meat, it's just going to make it easier to put together, because I know that when I layer it with the refried beans and then I put the meat on top, I sort of get a little impatient because the refried beans don't want to spread like I want them to. So hopefully doing it this way, it will make it a little easier. Add a little more enchilada sauce. Make it a little easier to spread, and I won't get so frustrated, because this is actually really good, and this may save a step to make it even easier to make. Now I'm just going to layer this, but before I put any of the tortillas down, I'm going to just put a little bit of the enchilada sauce. I do have this pan sprayed. So let's see, do it like this, and that should cover. Yeah, that'll be good. Perfect. Okay, and then I will do a layer of this, and then a layer of cheese, and I will go through all of that again. I let this cook in a 400-degree oven for probably about 20 to 25 minutes, and it came out beautifully. The slices came out really nice, and this was really good. Definitely a winner for dinner. Tonight is vegetable soup, and yes, I know it's summer and I know it's really hot, but I just wanted some vegetable soup. So I had these beef tips that I thawed out from the freezer, and I'm gonna saute them in some oil before I start putting this soup together. And I just saute it with some salt, pepper, and garlic powder, and I let it cook for just a few minutes until it starts getting brown on all sides. And I did decide to add some minced onion to it while it's sauteing. Once it's browned enough, I go ahead and add a little bit of all-purpose flour, and this is just going to help thicken the soup up, because I do like my soup to be not so much on the soupy side, but more on the, I don't know, creamier side. Not creamy, but also not watery. But once the flour has cooked down a little bit, I add about a half a can of the crushed tomatoes. I wish they had the smaller cans of crushed tomatoes, but I never can find them. But anyway, I get the crushed tomatoes stirred up and let that cook for just a little bit, and then of course I add my trusty Cavender's seasoning to it. Next, I'm gonna add about 4 cups of water. This isn't gonna be a huge pot of vegetable soup, but I add 4 cups of water, and then I add about probably equivalent of a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more, of my beef base. And once that beef base is dissolved, then I'm just cheating and using these frozen vegetables, and because it pretty much has everything in it that I use anyway. So I'm going to use probably about 3/4 of this bag of vegetables and let that cook. And that's pretty much it. I just let this cook. I actually let it cook for about 3 hours just to make sure that the meat was super tender when it was time to eat. And I made some cornbread to go along with it. And this was our nice, comforting meal for this night. Thanks so much for coming by and seeing what's for dinner. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got some meal ideas for your meal planning. And if you want to see more meal ideas like this, then make sure to subscribe and click the bell button so you don't miss any of my videos. give this video a big thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Bye.